The island has no name on any map. It is a ghost, a whisper among the world's most depraved elite. They call it Isla Sombra, the Shadow Isle. Getting there requires a fortune and, honestly, a complete absence of morality. Private jets land on a hidden airstrip carved from the dense jungle. From there, silent, electric vehicles transport guests to the island's dark heart. The air is thick, humid, and, heavy with unspoken horrors. It smells of salt, decay, and the metallic tang of old blood. The jungle itself seems to watch, its ancient trees twisted into shapes of agony, their leaves dripping with a perpetual unnatural dew. This is a place where conscience comes to die, a sanctuary for the worst impulses of humanity. At the center of this nightmare sits El Coliseo de la Carne, the Colosseum of flesh. It is not built of marble or grand stone, but hewn from the black volcanic rock of the island's dormant volcano. The structure seems to grow from the earth, a jagged wound in the landscape. Inside, the stands rise steeply, packed with spectators whose faces are often hidden behind masks of gold and porcelain. They are the titans of industry, the disgraced royalty, the political puppeteers who pull the world's strings. Down below, the arena floor is a canvas of dark, packed sand, stained with the memories of countless battles. The roar of the crowd is not one of cheer, but a guttural, hungry sound, the collective snarl of predators awaiting a feast. The atmosphere within the Colosseum is suffocating. Torches flicker, casting long, dancing shadows that make the walls seem to writhe and breathe. The architecture is brutalist and oppressive, designed to make everyone, combatant and spectator alike, feel small and insignificant. There is no beauty here, only function. The function is death. The air is cold despite the torches, a chill that seeps into your bones and has nothing to do with the temperature. It is the coldness of absolute apathy. The wealthy patrons sip on expensive champagne, their laughter sharp and brittle, a stark contrast to the grim silence that falls just before the fighting begins. They are not here for sport. They are here for a sacrament of violence. Every detail of the Colosseum is engineered for psychological torment. The entrance for the fighters is a long dark tunnel known as El Suspiro Final, the final sigh. Its walls are rough and damp, echoing the footsteps of those who walked it before and never returned. The sand in the arena is mixed with crushed bone, a constant, gritty reminder of the price of failure. High above, a retractable roof can open to the sky, sometimes revealing a cold, indifferent moon, other times letting in the torrential jungle rain that turns the arena floor into a slick morass of mud and blood. This is not just a place of combat. It is a meticulously crafted temple dedicated to the worship of suffering. The event is called El Torneo de la Desolación, the Desolation Tournament. It is an annual spectacle, the crowning jewel of the island's calendar of cruelty. Its purpose is simple and, well, grotesque, to provide the ultimate entertainment for those who have everything and feel nothing. The tournament is an exercise in pure sadism, a chance for the spectators to watch the human spirit be systematically broken, torn apart, and extinguished for their amusement. They wager fortunes on the lives of the fighters, not just on who will win, but on how they will die, how long they will last, and who will land the first crippling blow. The tournament is a monument to the void that exists in the souls of the powerful. The rules are fluid, designed to maximize bloodshed and despair. Fighters are not volunteers. They are procured. They are abducted, bought from corrupt regimes, or lured with false promises. They are the best of the best in their deadly fields, which makes their fall all the more spectacular for the audience. The tournament is a single elimination contest fought to the death. There is no surrender, no mercy, and no escape. The organizers, a shadowy consortium known only as the benefactors, introduce new and terrible twists each year. They design arenas that are as much a threat as the opponents, ensuring that survival is a matter of luck as much as skill. The prize for the victor is a lie. They are promised their freedom and a vast sum of money, a new life. But no one truly leaves Isla Sombra. The winner, broken and traumatized, is merely a ghost, forever owned by the benefactors. Their victory serves only to fuel the myth of the tournament and to lure in the next generation of fighters and spectators. The true purpose is the spectacle itself. It is a ritual cleansing for the wealthy, a way for them to witness the most extreme forms of violence from a safe distance, reinforcing their own sense of power and detachment from the messy, fragile thing that is human life. The audience feeds on the stories of the fighters. Before each match, a slickly produced video package details the combatants' histories, their tragedies, and their skills. This is not done to create empathy, but to add flavor to the slaughter. It allows the spectators to choose their favorites, to build a narrative around the people they are about to watch die. They want to see the stoic soldier break, the honorable warrior compromise their code, the fanatic have their faith shattered. The Desolation Tournament is not just about physical death, it is about the methodical dismantling of identity, belief, and hope, all for the viewing pleasure of the damned. This year, 6 fighters were thrown into the maw of the Colosseum. The first was Dmitry the Bear Volkov, a former Spetsnaz operative from Russia. He was a mountain of a man, his body a roadmap of scars from the wars in Chechnya. His eyes, however, held the true damage. They were vacant, haunted by the ghosts of his past. He fought with brutal efficiency, a machine of close-quarters combat, but every kill seemed to hollow him out further. Next was Kaylin, a wild warrior from a forgotten tribe in the Amazon. She was fierce and agile, her skin covered in ritualistic tattoos. She fought with a serrated bone club and a primal fury, a force of nature unburdened by the rules of the civilized world. Her motivation was simple, to survive and return to her people. Then there was Kenjiro, the last samurai. He was a man out of time, a practitioner of a dying code of honor. He was abducted from his secluded dojo in the mountains of Kyoto. Slender and precise, he wielded a katana with breathtaking skill, each movement a poem of lethal grace. He saw the tournament not as a fight for survival, but as a final test of his Bushido code. Even in a place utterly devoid of honor, he fought not for himself, but for the ideals he embodied. His counterpart in silent lethality was Jimena, La Sombra from Mexico. A former sicaria for a cartel, she moved with a dancer's grace and killed with the cold precision of a surgeon. She was an expert with knives and poisons, a ghost who could end a life before her victim even knew she was there. The most terrifying of the 6 was perhaps the preacher. He was a gaunt, frenzied man named Malachi, leader of an apocalyptic death cult. He saw the tournament as a divine crucible, a holy war where he was the righteous instrument of God's wrath. He fought with a flail made of sharpened crosses and quoted scripture as he delivered brutal, punishing blows. He believed that by consecrating the arena with the blood of the unworthy, he was paving his own path to paradise. His fanaticism made him unpredictable and terrifyingly resilient. A man who welcomed pain as a sign of his God's favor. He was not fighting to live, he was fighting to die in a blaze of perceived glory. Finally, there was Unit 734, or Kane as he called himself. He was more machine than man. A victim of a Black Ops cybernetics program, his body was a grotesque fusion of scarred flesh and cold steel. One arm was a multi-tooled pneumatic weapon, his eyes were optical sensors, and his movements were unnervingly fluid and powerful. He felt no pain, only a cold, logical drive to eliminate threats. Yet, beneath the wiring and metal, a flicker of the man he once was remained, trapped in a prison of his own body. He fought to reclaim his humanity, believing that by winning, he could force the benefactors to reverse the process that had made him a monster. The first round began. The 6 fighters were not brought to the sandy arena, but were instead cast into a sprawling subterranean labyrinth beneath the Colosseum. The walls were slick with grime and moss, and the air was a stagnant soup of mildew and fear. The benefactors announced the rules through hidden speakers. The first 4 to find the exit to the center would advance. The last 2 would be left to the maze's custodian. The layout shifted constantly, with heavy stone walls grinding and sliding, creating new paths and sealing off old ones. It was a place designed to disorient, to isolate, and to force deadly encounters in claustrophobic corridors. The hunt was on. Kaylin, the wild warrior, thrived in the oppressive darkness. She used her primal senses, listening to the drip of water and the scuff of a boot far down the corridor. She moved with a low, predatory crouch, her bone club ready. She was the first to encounter another fighter, cornering the preacher, Malachi, in a dead-end passage. His wild eyes gleamed in the gloom as he swung his flail of crosses. The clash was savage. Kaylin was faster, dodging his clumsy, powerful swings, but Malachi was relentless, fueled by his ecstatic madness. He screamed psalms as he fought, the words echoing strangely in the tight space. Kaylin landed a brutal blow to his shoulder with her club, and he roared, not in pain, but in what sounded like pleasure. Meanwhile, Dmitri and Kenjiro found themselves in an unnervingly long, straight hallway. A truce, unspoken but understood, formed between them. The stoic soldier and the honorable samurai recognized a shared discipline in each other. They moved back to back, covering all angles. Their silence was broken by the whirring of gears. Unit 734 appeared at the end of the hall, his optical sensors glowing red. He raised his mechanical arm, and a volley of high-velocity flechettes screamed down the corridor. Dmitri shoved Kenjiro into an alcove, the metal darts embedding themselves in the stone where the samurai had just been standing. The cold, logical hunt of the machine had begun. Jimena, La Sombra, used the labyrinth to her advantage. She was a creature of shadows and silence. She scaled the damp walls, crawling through ventilation shafts, bypassing the shifting corridors entirely. She watched the other fights from above, a silent observer gathering information. She saw Kalen break away from the injured Maliki, and she saw Dmitri and Kenjiro holding their ground against Unit 734's relentless assault. She made no move to intervene. Her strategy was not to fight, but to evade, let the others weaken each other. She found an exit first, a simple ladder leading up into darkness, and vanished without a sound. One by one, others found their way out, leaving Malachi and the wounded warrior he had been toying with to face the labyrinth's horrifying guardian. The four survivors, Dmitri, Kenjiro, Kalen, and Unit 734, found themselves in the second arena, a massive, ornate greenhouse. It was a beautiful and deadly place. Exotic, vibrant flowers grew alongside carnivorous plants that snapped at anything that moved. The air was heavy with a cloying, sweet scent. The entire structure was made of reinforced glass panels, some of which were rigged to shatter into razor-sharp shards at the press of a button. Hidden pressure plates triggered poison dart traps and released swarms of venomous insects. The benefactors' voices echoed through the speakers, announcing a 2-on-2 battle. Dmitri and Kalen versus Kenjiro and Unit 734. The last team standing would advance to the final. The alliance between Kenjiro and Unit 734 was uneasy. The samurai's code clashed with the machine's cold logic. Yet, they were a formidable pair. Kenjiro's katana was a blur, deflecting a volley of darts from a hidden trap, while Unit 734's sensors scanned the environment, identifying threats before they could activate. They faced off against the raw power of Dmitri and Kalen. The Russian soldier and the Amazonian warrior worked together with a surprising brutal synergy. Dmitri acted as the shield, absorbing and blocking attacks with his sheer mass, while Kalen was the spear, darting in for quick, vicious strikes with her club. The fight began amidst the snapping jaws of pitcher plants and the shimmering, fragile walls of glass. The battle was a chaotic dance of strategy and instinct. Unit 734 targeted Kalen, seeing her agility as the primary threat. He fired a grappling hook from his arm, snaring her ankle and yanking her toward him. But Dmitri was there, catching her and severing the cable with a powerful swing of his combat knife. At the same time, Kenjiro engaged Dmitri, his katana seeking a weakness in the big man's defense. It was a classic contest of speed versus power. The blade was everywhere, a silver flash in the humid air, but Dmitri was a fortress of muscle and bone, his movements economical and brutally effective, parrying the sword with his heavy forearms, protected by thick leather braces. The turning point came when Kalen, using her knowledge of the natural world, recognized a specific, highly toxic flower. While Dmitri kept Kenjiro occupied, she crushed its petals and smeared the poisonous paste onto the tip of a shard of glass. Seeing an opening, she lunged not at Kenjiro, but at Unit 734. The machine man did not register the small human threat until it was too late. She ducked under his swinging arm and drove the poisoned glass into a bundle of exposed cables and synthetic muscle tissue in his torso. Unit 734 froze, circuits shorting, his optical sensors flickering wildly. He stumbled backward, crashing through a glass wall and falling into a pit of giant, flesh-eating nepenthes. Kenjiro, seeing his partner fall, knew the fight was lost. He bowed to Dmitri and then calmly turned his own blade upon himself, choosing an honorable death over a slaughter. The final round took place in the main arena, but the sand had been cleared away. In its place was a vast circular pit filled with the bones of past combatants and animals, bleached white under the harsh arena lights. In the center of this grim pit, a grotesque throne had been constructed entirely of skulls and femurs. The rules were the simplest yet. The last one standing on the throne of bone would be declared the winner. The two finalists, Dmitri Volkov and Kalen of the Amazon, stood on opposite edges of the pit. They were both wounded, exhausted, and haunted by the carnage they had survived and wrought. The crowd was a hungry, roaring beast, baying for the final kill. Dmitri looked at Kalen. He saw not an enemy, but a fellow survivor, a warrior of immense strength and a spirit that refused to be broken. He saw in her eyes the same exhaustion he felt in his own soul. He had fought in wars for his country, killed for orders, and now he was killing for the entertainment of monsters. The cycle felt endless, meaningless. He gripped his knife, the cold steel, a familiar weight in his hand, but the fire for the fight was gone. He was tired of the killing. He was tired of the ghosts that followed him. He only wanted it to be over. He was a soldier without a war, a man without a purpose, standing in a pit of forgotten dead. Kaylin watched the big Russian. She saw the change in his eyes, the flicker of despair that mirrored her own. She thought of her home, the green canopy, the sound of her tribe. That was the only thing that had driven her this far. But the tournament had stained her. The blood she had spilled felt different here, dirty and without honor. She looked from Dmitri to the jeering, masked faces in the crowd. They were the true enemy. They were the source of this desolation. A desperate, defiant idea began to form in her mind. Winning this way, killing this broken soldier, was not a victory. It was just another performance, the final act in their sick play. As the signal for the fight to begin blared, Dmitri did not charge. He simply stood his ground, a silent, weary giant. Kaylin, instead of attacking him, let out a piercing war cry. But it was not directed at Dmitri, it was directed at the stands. She pointed her bone club, not at her opponent, but at the opulent viewing box where the benefactors sat. It was a gesture of pure, suicidal defiance. In that moment, Dmitri understood. He was a soldier, and he had just been given his final mission. He turned his back on Kaylin, facing the same direction, and raised his knife in a silent salute of solidarity. They would not give the crowd the ending they paid for. They would not kill each other. The crowd fell into a stunned silence, their bloodlust momentarily confused by this unexpected act of unity. The two fighters, the Russian soldier and the Amazonian warrior, stood together in the bone pit, a defiant island in a sea of depravity. They had refused to be puppets. They had taken back the one thing they had left, the choice of how to face their end. The benefactors, enraged by this disruption to their script, barked orders into their microphones. The moment of quiet was shattered as hidden panels in the arena walls slid open and armed guards in black tactical gear began to rappel down into the pit, their weapons trained on the two rebels. Dmitri and Kaylin shared one last look. There was no fear in their eyes, only a grim understanding. They had lost the tournament, but they had won a different, more profound victory. They had refused to become the monsters their captors wanted them to be. As the guards closed in, they did not cower. They stood back to back, raising their weapons for one final, impossible fight. Not against each other, but against the system that had imprisoned them. The outcome was never in doubt. The sound of gunfire echoed through the Coliseo, sharp and final, a brutal end to their rebellion. The spectators, after a moment of shock, began to applaud, convinced this was all part of the show. The Desolation Tournament had its bloody conclusion, but not the one anyone expected. The throne of bone remained empty. There was no winner, only losers. The bodies of Dmitri and Kaylin were unceremoniously cleared from the pit, their final act of defiance already being woven into a new, exciting narrative for next year's event. For the spectators, it was a thrilling, unforgettable finale. For the fighters, it was the end of a long and painful road. Their stories, their pain, and their brief, shared moment of humanity would be forgotten, buried like the bones they had stood upon, just more props for the endless spectacle. The true impact of the tournament is not measured in the number of dead, but in the echoes left behind. It is in the chilling realization of what people are capable of, both in cruelty and in resilience. What does it mean to survive in a world that demands your humanity as the price of admission? The stories of Dmitri, Kaylin, Kenjiro, and the others linger in the humid air of Isla Sombra, a testament to the fact that even in the deepest abyss, facing absolute desolation, the human spirit can still choose to burn brightly, if only for a moment, before being extinguished. The Colosseum of flesh stands waiting, ready for its next sacrifice. And the world, unknowing, continues to turn.